Alright, the Hobbit movies were, to me, as they were to many others, a huge disappointment, but also the vast majority of the problems present in them. How does Gandalf get the key to Erebor when he hasn't found Thorin and Dol Guldur yet? Since when do orcs willingly travel under the sun? Dwarves are not fireproof. No, seriously, dwarves are not fireproof. Why do I have to purchase the extended edition to view the complete story? The frankly jarring difference between the battle scenes present in the theatrical release and those exclusive to the extended edition. We did not need this much Legolas. Everything that happened with the Actors Union in New Zealand. This have already been discussed to death by much better qualified people than me in the, holy shit, 4 years since the release of the Battle of the Five Armies. I'll leave some links in the description to some videos on the topic if you're interested and haven't seen them yet. No, I'm gonna talk about something much more niche. I'm going to argue for why it would have been a fantastic idea to include Frerin in the movies in some more substantial way than just this brief flash of a name on a family tapestry. Seriously, this is borderline insulting. Actually, if I'm gonna be totally honest, I'm arguing that both Frerin and Dis should have been at least named, but this is still much more Frerin-centered, so the title's still valid. So you're probably wondering why, right? I mean, neither of them are really named in the book. This is like, you know she exists because Fili and Kili exist, but there is nothing in the book to even hint that Thorin once had a younger brother. So obviously it's not that I'm mad they strayed from the source material. I'm really not. A pair of Hobbit movies could have been a really cool opportunity to restyle the story with a more Lord of the Rings feel than is present in the book. It may even have worked with 3, but I still think that's a little excessive for a book that's like half the length of Fellowship. So to explain myself, let's start with Thorin's character and backstory. It's obvious the movies wanted to give him more than the book did, so much so that they stole Dain's accomplishments in killing Azog in Azanulbizar at the age of 32, basically still a teenager by dwarven standards, and gave it to Thorin, and made it so Thorin didn't even succeed. That part I am salty about. Full disclosure, that part I am salty about. And it also seems like a lot of kind of unnecessary steps, don't you think? Considering if they wanted to give Thorin more of a backstory, they had the perfect opportunity with Frerin. Frerin, for those of you who don't know, is Thorin's younger brother who died at Azanulbizar at the age of 48, which for a dwarf is almost comparable to me, someone who will be 20 in a little less than 4 months. Frerin is given explicit mention in the Lord of the Rings appendices, where the story of the Battle of Azanulbizar is told in more detail. The filmmakers didn't have any of those. It's only mentioned in things we don't have the rights to, so we can only vaguely allude to its existence. Troubles they had elsewhere. They just chose not to use him for some reason, which is really a massive missed opportunity. Because by including Frerin, you instantly get more backstory material for Thorin, and Dain can keep his moment in the sun because, seriously, Bolg would have been fine as an adversary. We did not need Azog to survive. So anyway, meandering aside, why should Thorin's extra backstory have involved his siblings, specifically his dead brother, more in my opinion? The answer, when it comes right down to it, is ridiculously simple. Fili and Kili. One really brilliant thing a lot of fan creators do when it comes to Frerin is make him look like Fili. Think about that for a second. Consider a movie where we're told through these flashbacks that, I mean, there are flashbacks in the movie, it wouldn't have even changed anything there, you'd just have to change the content of them, that Thorin had a younger brother, and we see that Fili and Kili, his nephews, are similar to Thorin and Frerin, at least in looks. Maybe the filmmakers even find a way to make it clear that Thorin shares more in common with Fili and Frerin with Kili, despite who they resemble more in looks. Then think about this moment.
You belong with the company. I belong with my brother.
Yeah. Imagine a set of movies where we know for sure how much that affects Thorin. Why he lets Fili go so easily here. Because he understands. I belong with my brother. Those words ring true because he does, and so did Thorin, and Fili might have a chance here to succeed where Thorin failed. Let's take it a step further. Let's say, for example, I don't know, maybe the story tells us that Frerin died defending Thorin during the battle. Let's add to that then that the movies had kept Fili and Kili's original book deaths, falling defending their uncle in battle. Basically what I'm saying is the filmmakers had an excellent opportunity to sucker punch us all directly in our hearts, and they didn't take it, and that baffles me. Expanding a little further on this, can you imagine a pair of Hobbit movies where more emphasis is placed on the family aspect of the company? Balin and Dwalin are Thorin's cousins after all. He must have helped raise Fili and Kili. Oin and Gloin are also related to him. Gloin has a wee lad back home who so desperately wanted to come on the quest, but Thorin was hesitant even to let Fili and Kili come along given how young they are. Frerin alone could have provided so many parallels to Kili, even though Fili resembles him more in looks. The reckless younger brother, quick to laugh. It could have explained why Thorin seemed to favor him somewhat.
What's happening? Grab my hand! No! Get it!
And why he's so hard on Fili. It's not just because Fili is his heir, next in line to the throne of Erebor, future leader of their people. It's because Thorin looks at Fili and he sees himself. Or rather, he sees a better version of himself, and he is desperate to lead his nephew down the right path. Imagine if the movies had actually let us see this. Just once, similar enough in looks and coloring to Thorin and Kili both, that we know immediately who she is. There would be so many ways to make that such an effective moment, kind of regardless of which moment in her story it's showing us. Just imagine the opportunities. Imagine them. Imagine a set of Hobbit movies that focus more on family and the adventures of a small hobbit in a big world, and are maybe a bit less laser-focused on the conventionally attractive characters. Well, that was long and winding and not very to the point, but I'm very emotional about this, so you'll have to forgive me. Anyway, that's all for now. Bye.